listening for this introduction, for the context. Thank you very much for everyone who is attending today and who is supporting us throughout these 2 years, us as an organization and us as a country, because I am here located in Ukraine. And I would like to give you today, now as you've heard the numbers, and I'm sure you've seen Ukraine on news, maybe not so often anymore as you used to before when it just all started 2 years ago. So I just wanted to provide more information and more context from someone who is there so that you understand not only what we are doing, but why we're doing exactly this here and what else is needed, what gaps there are and what challenges we and our amazing partners on the ground are facing every day. So I'm just going to share my presentation. Okay, I think you can see it now. Yeah, so I'm just gonna go straight to the map. Maybe for those of you who know or who know, and I will just remind you, or maybe there's someone who doesn't know the scale of the problem. So this is Ukraine on the map, and here dark red, you can see the territories that have been occupied before since 2014. Someone, when we posted this announcement of this webinar, someone rightfully mentioned on Facebook that the war didn't start 2 years ago. The war actually started almost 10 years ago, back in 2014. But as you can see on the selected areas, the scale was much smaller. And VWB is present here on the ground since March 2022 with a full-scale invasion, when the scale of the problem was increased, actually. So you can see that the territory occupied in the beginning of 2022 was 150,000 square meters. That's 20% of Ukraine territory. And the territory occupied today is 108,700. That's 18%. In miles, that would be something like 42 square miles. I've looked up in the internet, and territory is compared to the U.S. state of Tennessee. So just for you to imagine how big the occupied territory is. And the green areas here are the liberated land. So you can see the army and the front line was all the way almost in Kiev back in March 2022. So just some key figures. The casualties, civilian and military. These numbers, I cannot. No one knows exactly how many casualties there have been because we cannot know how many people, civilian and military, or mostly civilian, died in the occupied territories. We don't have information from those towns, cities, and villages occupied by the Russian army. How many exactly people suffered and were injured or died. At the moment, today, we have slightly over 7 million refugees. That's outside of Ukraine, and 4 million IDPs internally displaced within Ukraine. So the damage to infrastructure is 155 billion US dollars. And as you can see, the amounts of money spent today by Ukraine, by the Ukrainian government, is 40% of its GDP. That's a huge number, especially considering that we have 42 billion budget deficit now, and our government is also burdened by such expenses as, for example, assisting IDPs within the country, so the internally displaced people who had to move elsewhere and to start their lives from scratch. So they need support. And considering the situation now, with all the challenges in the US, for example, with the financing aid for Ukraine, for example, you you could mm, you could see that there is not much funds in Ukraine left for supporting animals, because there is not much left for people. So, which is why the help provided by individual donors, by our supporters from all over the world, is so crucially important. And so, just to give you further context about our everyday lives, because just recently I was talking to friends of friends in Moldova and Bulgaria, so countries very close to us, not as far as US or Canada, right? And I realized that some of them have this understanding, have this vision that we don't have anything, like we don't have war anymore, and it's just limited by some areas in the east or in the south of the country. Or some of them think everything is destroyed and it's impossible to continue living normal lives in Ukraine. So it's neither. We obviously, those areas I showed you previously on the map are the worst, and it's for many people it has become impossible to live there. So which is why they are becoming refugees. But elsewhere in the country, in Kiev, for example, you can see the duration of air raid alarms by hours. So in Kiev region, for example, it's close to 2,000 hours. So that means almost 3 months. 3 months in a year. No, it's 3 months actually in 2 years, in the past 2 years, the statistics. The people in Kiev had to spend in a shelter, risking if they don't go to shelter, for example, because air alarms sometimes happen at night. So if they are tired, they are risking their lives every day in their own beds. Those that do go to shelters have to spend their nights in subway, for example, with their pets, with their kids. And then a morning comes, they have to go to work. So yeah, just to give you understanding how our lives here in not in frontline cities, even how they are happening from every day. And of course, while people are suffering, their animals are suffering, the pets are suffering. And here on these photos, you can see. So these are famous photos. Here on the top is a dog called Krim. He was found like this on a destroyed house of his family in Dnipro region, I believe, or in Kharkiv region. All his family died, unfortunately, under this rubble. He survived, but he also passed away, sadly, a couple of days or a couple of months after, because he just couldn't. His health was just affected too much. On the left, there is a dog in Sumy region, also who lost his family, and he also passed away a couple of days after this. He was saved by emergency services, but unfortunately he didn't survive. And this on the right is like a special photo for me, because this house right here is like 400 meters from my house. It's in Lviv. So this photo was taken by one of our partners, Oksana Koshak from UPO. And she was right in that house when the missile strike happened. And this was the dog that was survived from that was taken from under the rubble by the rescuers. So yeah, this was a very scary night back then. And my dog is also he started. He was never afraid of loud sounds, but now he is after that moment. This is a very famous photo of a famous photographer, Evgeny Malaletka, from Ukraine, and this is when the Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant was destroyed by the Russian army. So here you can see a woman from Kherson and her pets back then, I believe something close to 20,000 houses were destroyed by the water, and consequently the people and the pets. There were casualties. Many people lost their houses, their relatives, their pets. A lot of organizations stepped up, both Ukrainian and foreign international volunteers organizations stepped up to help, including our partners on the ground. You can see there are women saving not only dogs but also goats on a boat. So this is how the rescue operation looked. And I'm just going to follow with a couple of slides, photos from the recent and somewhat older consequences of missile or artillery strikes. So this one, I believe, is the Donetsk region, and a cat that survived after his or her house was destroyed. And yeah, one of the dogs in the frontline region. We have a very special guest here who will tell you later, after I finish with my presentation, more in detail how animals and their people, how they survive in these areas, because they are the ones who have this first-hand information. So before we move on to our achievements, I just want to our achievements, I mean in companion animal sector, I would like to give you some information about the new about the pilot project that we started last year in June 2023, and that was about livestock. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so as you know, a lot of Ukraine is a very agricultural country. 30 million people rely on agriculture as their main source of livelihoods, this way or another. So no wonder that livestock and poultry sector and agriculture sector were heavily affected in the places where there were hostilities. So as you can see, 6 million livestock and poultry were killed during the war. 174,000 square kilometers required mining in Ukraine. A lot of them are also occupied, so no one knows when this land becomes accessible. 7.3 million people became food insecure, and 35% of farmers report increase in production costs. That means that their usual supply networks were disrupted, their equipment was damaged or destroyed, their livestock or poultry were killed, or they are needing they are in need of veterinary medicine or feed. So having researched this situation, we decided that we should do something, and we should help not only with companion animals, but also help people who are living off this type of livelihoods. So we launched our livestock and poultry support to rural families program. We are very proud to say that we could expand our network locally, our partner network locally, and through our partners, we could deliver help to rural families by supporting them with chickens, by distributing chickens. You can see the numbers, more than 35,000. And chickens was our pilot initiative, because after research, we realized that this is the easiest way to support people in rural areas. But also we provided these people with additional training, because some people used to live off chickens, poultry in general, but with the war breaking out, they didn't have their chickens anymore, or their equipment, etc. anymore. So, but also there are people who decided to start this kind of micro business because either they were displaced and from a city they moved somewhere rural and there is no other way of self-employment but raising livestock or poultry, or because they lost their jobs or any other reasons. So these people are very vulnerable, and this type of help was very actual. So those who were missing some knowledge or who were started from the scratch, we provided them with training on how to rear chicken. Also, so our beneficiaries became 1,385 people in 4 oblasts. So like from the map you've seen previously, the oblasts are the most affected ones, the ones bordering Russia and the ones closer to the front line in the east and in the south of Ukraine. So our partners developed training courses, and also they delivered mentoring to people to support them throughout the whole process. And also we started a small pilot with goats. And in Dnipro Oblast, we provided people with 100 goats and related training to this, also through our dedicated partners. So I'm just going to move to numbers in companion animals. I'm not going to stop on livestock for too long because the focus of this presentation is mostly about the companion animals. But if you have any questions afterwards, the floor will be open at the end of presentations, and you will have the chance to ask the questions by raising the hands, or you can just put your questions in the chat. So back to our companion animal program, Charmaine already mentioned in the beginning the numbers, and you can see they are quite huge, and something that we are very proud of, that we could achieve so much, and this wouldn't be possible without our partners on the ground. And here you can see a map of our partner network. So on the top is our livestock partners, and here you can see companion animal initiatives related partners. And as I mentioned, all of them work in the most affected areas of Ukraine, in the south, in the north, and in the east, where the help is mostly needed. So just to make the numbers more illustrative for you, I prepared several photos, several slides from our activities demonstrating the impact. So here you can see our shelter reconstruction activity, also delivered with the help of our local partners, Happy Paw and Sirius, the shelter on the right. So with their help, we helped reconstructing and adding additional enclosures to 6 shelters throughout the 2 years. Most of these shelters, and including those that you can see on the photo, they were affected by the war in different ways. So for example, left side, Lada shelter, they were evacuated from Bakhmut, a city that is now occupied, and where like the worst conflict happened for a long time. So they had to evacuate with all their dogs and cats. With our help, starting from here, because they were just given some land in the more in a location that is safer, but it was not designed for shelter. But with our help and with the help of our partners, the dogs could finally have new enclosures and have decent conditions for living. And Happy Paw is this is not the last stop on their journey. Happy Paw is an organization that takes care about adoption. So they are taking all the effort together with the shelter to rehome, to find homes for these dogs. Same with the shelter on the right. It was damaged, as you can see, by one of the missile attacks. And yeah, thanks to our help, this was actually Makariv, best friend shelter, which was attacked in the very beginning of the full-scale invasion when the front line was very close to Kiev, and this is Kiev suburb. So yeah, this is a cat house that was reconstructed thanks to us and our partners, Happy Paw. This is illustration from our food distribution program, and this is Happy Paw staff and the shelter staff delivering the food. And during the 2 years, we distributed 1,400 tons of food to 4,000 plus shelters all over Ukraine. So Happy Paw is a partner that is making this effort very systematic. That is always trying to add new shelter partners, the ones that are more in need. They're always doing this work on the ground to attract more and more funding, to attract to get more and more food towards these shelters that are under their care. These are the slides that represent our spay-neuter efforts. The photo on the right, also our special guest today will tell you more about it. The photo on the left is from the frontline spay-neuter campaigns. Also, Veronica will tell you more about this. With our spay-neuter campaign, as Charmaine already mentioned, we covered almost 14,000 animals, cats and dogs in Ukraine. We focus specifically on those areas and those locations that don't have access, where people and consequently animals don't have access to veterinary medicine. And this could be rural areas with no veterinary clinics, but this could also be frontline, where it is very important to regulate the number of stray animals, because as you can imagine, people are leaving their animals behind, or people are living in very difficult conditions where no one is thinking about sterilizing pets, and the number is becoming critically big. With this, as you can imagine, things like rabies and other zoonotic diseases are spreading. So this is very, very important initiative. Yeah, and this is an illustration of our spay-neuter campaign in rural areas of Kiev region. Yeah, and a few words about our telehealth project, which we are implementing with our partner GladPet. Many people, as I already mentioned, left their homes. Many people who used to live in cities had to be displaced to rural areas with no veterinary clinics. Some people had to become refugees and go abroad, where they just don't have the financial resources to find to consult a local veterinarian. So these people have a chance to receive professional veterinary consultation and help and prescriptions from professional veterinarians that work for our project. Our partner GladPet are implementing a platform where anyone can just book their time. Any pet owner can book their time and see a veterinarian online. It can be done through phones, through chat like WhatsApp, through Zoom, through any means of communication. And from our statistics that we receive from our partners, more than 90%, something around 90%, they don't need to consult an offline veterinarian. So the cases are resolved after this consultation during the consultation, or with the prescribed medicine So some of them do need a second consultation online, but only 10% require an offline visit to a veterinary offline. In Mykolaiv, also heavily affected by the war, almost occupied at some point, but it wasn't occupied. And our partners, charity organization Unity Plus, are also leading the local, because they're very close to Kherson, they are leading the local animal welfare efforts, and we are trying to help them with that. So on the photos, you can see the cats that were saved from the fire, and with our help, our partners could treat them with a local veterinary clinic. So with our help, our partners could provide help, veterinary help and medicine and food locally. So thank you very much for supporting us all the way. And as you can see, this is a lot, but much more needs to be done. And we have the war is not stopping. We have so many challenges, unfortunately. But I believe with the help and with people like you all over the world, we are going to survive. We are going to win. And I would like to pass the floor to our special guest that I already mentioned before, to Veronica. Veronica is founder and director of one of our partners on the ground, 12 Guards. So Veronica is not only a leader in the animal welfare NGO, but she's also an advisor to Minister of Environmental Protection of Ukraine. And currently their organization is focused on systemic reducing the number of stray animals in Ukraine, and this systemic work to humanize society in relation to stray animals. So apart from going to the front line, she is also managing to teach people humane kids, basically, humane treatment to animals, and is doing a lot of advocacy work. So Veronica, the floor is yours. I'm gonna stop sharing.
I'm glad to see you all. Sharing my presentation. Just a moment, please. Do you hear me? Do you hear me?
Yes.
Is it okay? Just a moment. Hello. Everyone, I am founder and director of 12 Guards Foundation, and I'd like to say big thank you, first of all, for our common mission in Kherson in December 2023. It was a big project for me and best opportunity to meet you in this quality in my work. Then we helped 280 animals, and they have ideas how we can make our work even more effective and better. My focus is homeless and abandoned dogs and cats, and it's my personal story because before this big war, my job was Chernobyl exclusion zone, and my main task was to turn place about death to place about life. From mortality to vitality. And I think this job about life also. For these 2 years, our foundation crossed big way. First 2 months of 2022, we just providing feed and medicines for animals of the deoccupied territories, but not only of the occupied territories, and to occupied too. It was Slavutich, Kiev region. During all March, we delivered food, and we made evacuation, family with pets and just pets from closed houses. The remaining 10 months we made in partner with another foundation. For example, it was Hilfe, German fund. It was spent in neuter missions, setting up working protocols, creating adoption algorithm, all this year. Until June, we conducted independent spayed neuter missions, but it was independent missions without partners. And in June 2023, it was Kherson disaster, and our fund was main coordinator of rescue process on the water in Kherson during 2 weeks. It was most hard moment in my life, I think. And now our fund conducting large combined missions according to the formula sterilization, plus rescue, plus evacuation, plus treatment and adoption. I think we became a full cycle animal advocate, and we are building rescue management in Ukraine now, pet management. We have a reason we started to address the issue for animals. Before the war, there was a lot of homeless animals in Ukraine. Alas, more than 100,000. But since the beginning of the big war, the situation with animals has become a disaster of humanism and ecology. Hundreds of thousands of abandoned animals joined the homeless. The birth rate spiraled out of control. Animal mortality got another cause from shelling and became a global problem in many areas. Our areas is Donetsk region and Kherson region, 2 areas, mostly dogs. We at our foundation have decided to make helping animals the focus of our work. We call it fighting for civilization in Ukraine. Not just about cat and dog, it's civilization. By helping cats and dogs, we help people, first of all. We help people to remain human. And we are at dangerous moment just now, because the front is closer and closer and closer, and every day we got more than 100 requests for evacuation, pets and families with pets every day. Our results for these 2 years: over 12,000 spay and neuters in partnership with other foundations and independently. It's 30 evacuation rates, over 1,500 rescues, including a rescue in Kherson in June 2023. And since May 2023, about 350 animals have found their families. It's happy for me. What's further? Main question. Next, we plan to continue expanding geographically, launch a social clinic for volunteers and homeless animals in Kyiv region. We dream to open an adoption center, and we have experience because 1 year ago I opened one adoption center in Ukraine, Patron Pet Center. I'm one from 3 founders of this center. And that is main aim, to create such an impact which will be able to cover more animals in Ukraine as efficiently as possible. Clinic, adoption center, and a little shelter for our rescued animals. And I'd like to say a few words about our team. Of course, veterinarians, about 10 pets we have in our team. Assistants, rescued trappers, 3 persons. Alexander, Stepan, and me. A few volunteers, coordinators, and local community where we come to work. In Mykolaiv, in Kherson, in Donetsk region, with our big team. I think it's about from 12 to 16 persons in our mission. That's all, and I'd like again thank you very much for listening to me. It's very valuable for us, and thank you for your support of Ukraine, of Ukrainians, and of Ukrainian cats and dogs. That's all.
Thank you
Do you
so
hear
much.
me?
Yes, thank you so much. That was a wonderful presentation, really highlighting the amazing work on the ground. We've had a couple questions come in, and I also want to open it up for any questions from all of our great audience. There was a question around if we've had support from Mars, and yes, Veterinarians Without Borders has had amazing support from Mars last year, which has really allowed us to...
I don't hear you. Just a moment. One more time, please repeat it, please, because I didn't hear last words.
There was a question that came in from the audience around if we have received support from Mars. And Veterinarians Without Borders has received amazing support from Mars in order to do programming in Ukraine over the past year. And we're really grateful for that. So just to respond to that question, yes, Mars has been a great contributor. Are there any other questions out there that people would like to ask at this time to Daria or Leila?
Mars, I think it's about Angela. Angela Stup. Yes?
Sure.
Yes, Angela is our friend. She's always help to our team. Sometimes she came to our mission as assistant and vaccination, help with animals, medical stuff, cages. Oh, it's my artifact pantry. And yes, we received some help from Mars. It was not big value, but it was very valuable for us. Yes, I know Angela. It's our friend and partner, 2 years. She works also with our partners Stirnet Hilfe, Marcus Hagen. This fund also create in Ukraine spay and neuter missions, and Angela take part with these missions almost always.
Amazing, amazing.
Yes.
There was another question from the audience around what is the greatest need right now in Ukraine for the animals?
At first, veterinarian diets. It's the most big problem for our foundation, because Safe Pets of Ukraine and other organizations give us a lot of dry food for dogs and cats. But our work is with sick dogs after disaster, and we use most of all vet food and veterinarian diets. And it's our big cost in our budget. I think we spend about $2,000 a month for buying veterinarian diets for sick dogs. Just now, in this moment, I am curator about 300 dogs in Kiev. It's private shelters. My home, my own home is little shelter now. But most of all, we need social clinic because I think if I dream to open my own clinic, it was less money than I spent for treatment all my rescued dogs in private clinics at Kiev. For example, for last year, I spent about 1 million hryvnias for treatment of Kherson animals, mostly dog, but about 20 persons cats. It was only treatment, 1 million hryvnias. And we need also budget for spay and neuter missions, because our team can make about 600 sterilization per 1 week. But we made less sterilization because we have no budget for it. For example, in Kherson, December, with Veterinarians Without Borders, we made 280 sterilization. But I think we can much more. That's all, I think. And we need hug and warm word always.
Wonderful, wonderful. I wanted to share the floor with John Peevler, our International Companion Animal Specialist. John, did you want to highlight any needs in Ukraine from your side? There was also a question around adoption outside of Ukraine to other European countries, if you're able to respond.
I see a lot of questions in our chat.
Yeah.
What is the greatest area of need in Ukraine right now for animals? Is need everywhere, all Ukraine, even Odessa region. But in our work, more crisis is Donetsk region just now, Zaporizhia. I don't know, it's all Ukraine. All Ukraine. A lot of abandoned dogs on the street, mostly big dogs. It's, for example, I have now 17 alibis.
Wow.
Can you hear me, Charmaine?
Yeah, John, hi.
Oh, good. I got the
John.
power to speak. So I did just want to say thank you to everybody. I'm not sure I have the ability to turn on my camera, so you won't be able to see me and my very special Ukrainian shirt I'm wearing. I want to thank you all for attending the webinar, and to answer your question about sort of most pressing needs. It continues to be the most basic things that animals and communities need. Veterinary healthcare, whether in person or telemedicine, both are areas that we've focused on extensively. Distribution of food, and to Leila's point, like getting specialized food is an issue, but getting any food still remains a primary concern. Certainly spay and neuter to reduce the burden on particularly frontline areas where obviously many people have had to evacuate, whether they're internally displaced or external refugees. A lot of animals have been left behind, and those animals are continuing to breed. So we have sort of the same pressing concerns that we've had, and continue to work on these issues, and certainly appreciate any support. I don't see the other questions. I don't know if it's my screen.
John, there was a question around the ability to adopt outside of Ukraine, and a question around if it's possible for cats and dogs right now to be reunited that have been separated. Anything you can share on those two topics?
Now we adopted our rescued animals mostly in Ukraine, because adoption in foreign countries is a too long process. with 2 long documents, and it's a little percent. We do it often, but with through our partners, Kharkiv Animal Rescue, if you know. It's a big charity organization, and they helps us to adopt our rescued animals cross-boarding, because we adopted only in Ukraine. But maybe I didn't understand.
No, that's
question.
perfect. That's perfect. Thank you. Daria,
Yeah.
can I hand over to you for a second for the question around psychological impacts?
Just a moment. I can post in the chat for some reason. It's been disabled. So plus put any links so we can see and put any links or
Let's see if I can
comment.
get our
Thank you.
communications team to do that. Daria, over to you.
Links on our organization, our site, or social media, or what? What links? What kind of links?
I just wanted to add a few words on what Lala already mentioned about adopting outside of Ukraine, because I don't want to discourage people. You know, maybe a person who asked this, they are interested in adopting. So if there is a potential adopter, it is possible. Just like Lala mentioned, it's very difficult, and usually it's possible, it's doable, but usually it requires some effort here on the ground, because the animal, while making the documents for sending a pet abroad, an animal needs to stay with some foster or with a shelter, because, for example, we need an antibody rabies test that take like at least 1 month to do them, given that the animal is already vaccinated from rabies. If they don't have a rabies vaccine, they'd have to be vaccinated first, and then the antibody titer is done, and then the animal can be sent. So it requires some additional effort, some additional financial resources, but it is possible, and I want to encourage people, especially in Europe, because it's close. If we have anyone here, or if anyone knows anyone who wants to adopt, please reach out to our partners, to our organizations and volunteers here on the ground, and you will to us after all, and we will make sure to help you. With the psychological impact on animals, obviously, just like people, they get affected by missiles, by loud sounds, by we can divide, I guess, animals in where the actual combat is happening, and animals in cities living like my pet, for example, here when we still have some missile strikes sometimes. You imagine that people in animals in front lines, deprived from like human care, deprived from normal conditions, food, water, they will be psychologically affected. And maybe Lala will add something more at the end after I finish. But also in cities, loud noises when missiles, when I have missile strikes, for example, my dog, he was never scared of loud sounds. Now he is, and even when he hears like a truck passing by or someone slams the door, he becomes very nervous. He's looking for shelter somewhere like under a sofa. He's become very stressed to travel. He doesn't like traveling anymore. He used to. So a lot of there's a huge impact on animals, just like on people. Maybe Lala wants to add something about the front line, about the animals taken from the front line.
I'm now reading this comment, and I'm sorry, a little blocked my mind. Look, are there any attempts to renew dogs or cats with their families from whom they might have been separated. Are most animals electronically chipped to allow this? In all my practice, it was no one chipped animals from all rescued dogs. For example, during disaster in Kherson, no one chipped dog. And therefore, in our missions, we chipped every dogs for I want to find family for every dog we save. But with the pity, I have to say that a lot of owners of abandoned dogs don't want to union with them, and it's tragedy of pets of Ukraine.
It is, but we're so grateful for all the work that you're doing to support it. It's amazing to see the impact on the ground, Leila. We're coming up to time right now, and I just wanted to thank you all for coming today. It's been amazing to have everybody here and be able to share the word of the work on the ground. There's been a lot of questions, and I just wanted to direct everybody towards our website at vwb.org, where we're going to continue to post our updates on what's happening. We'll also be sharing, so if you sign up, then you'll always be getting our updates of what's happening in the field with Ukraine. And of course, you can always email us if you have any more specific questions of this. We'll always love to follow up. We're so grateful for all your support and for everybody who's been able to join today. So thank you, and wishing you all a wonderful day.
Thank you for your support. Thank you.
Thank you.